You're listening to Without a Brief, a Red Bow House podcast where we talk branding, business, visibility, identity, and the women behind the work. I'm your host, Jasmine Soteropoulos. Let's get into it.
Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. I am so glad you're here. This is your very first time, and I'm so happy and excited that I've got you on here because you've had so much to say. But before I get too into it, I want you to introduce yourself for everyone who doesn't know who you are.
Yes. Hello, squad. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Jasmine. So my name is Mary Lacey Banks, and I am a personality, a motivational speaker, and a coach. I wear a lot of hats, and there's a lot of different ways that I do what I do. But my main calling and purpose in life is to help women go from invisible to visible. I truly believe that visibility creates possibility, and it is my mission in life to help all women be seen, heard, and known. And I do that through a lot of different things. I do that through dopamine dressing. I do it through helping people get better at communicating and overall just showing up for the lives that they came here to lead.
And I think it definitely shows what you do. I mean, the way I found you, you had a video come up that you were dressed in like the most gorgeous little mini cheeky hot pink dress, and I was like, who is she? Tell me everything about this woman. And I was like, yes, please. So I think like when I heard the term dopamine dressing, it's not something that has come up on my like For You page and stuff like that before. It was brand new to me. And I was like, tell me more. I need to hear all about this. So I think we start on that. Tell me exactly
Absolutely.
what that means, how you even landed on that term. And yeah.
My goodness. So I want to, in order to really encapsulate why dopamine dressing matters to me so much, I want to start with my origin story. So
Please do.
when I was a young girl, I used to love getting ready and getting dressed. I always joke that I was born wearing faux fur and sparkles. I mean, I loved it. I loved it. And I loved fashion so much that senior year, I chose to not do cheerleading, which was a sport that I absolutely loved. And instead, I went all in on the fashion team and I learned how to make my own pattern and I made my own prom dress and I competed at state. And it was just such a fun little journey for me. And I, that passion was very unexpectedly taken away from me when I was 22 years old. And I found myself in the most unforeseen circumstance of my life. You know, I wonder if you can relate to this, Jasmine, and I know that women listening to this right now can relate to this, but when you're a younger woman, when you're a young girl, you dream of what your life is going to look like, right? You dream of what it's going to be. You have this idea. And I think something that was so hard for me at the age of 22 was when my heart was broken by the circumstances I found myself in. And so I was groomed by a man who I had known for 4 years of my life. He was literally my dad's age. So I was groomed by this man. I was eventually raped by him, and it changed my entire life. And I really wish I could tell you that once the event happened, that I got help, that I got out of it, but I didn't. I stayed. I was terrified. My life was controlled by death threats. It was controlled by revenge porn that I didn't know was taken. He threatened my job. He was in a position of power at where I worked. And over the course of 2 years, I gained 70 pounds. I dropped out of college. I became an alcoholic. And I completely stopped getting ready and stopped getting dressed. And here's the kicker. That relationship ended after 2 years. And even still, I punished myself for what happened for 7 of those years. And so for 7 years of my life, I wasn't on social media at all. I was the most antisocial girl you could possibly think of. I literally moved thousands of miles away from my family and from any of my friends. I just hid in my little cocoon. I only wore gray outfits. And I was just so unembodied. And I found myself at this place when I was 29 years old. I was living in my dad's basement, $40,000 in debt, 40 pounds heavier than I am right now. I was addicted to alcohol. And when I say addicted to alcohol, I need the women listening to this to understand I was a mess with alcohol. Like, I had done horrible things. I had woken up in the hospital drunk several times. I had crashed my car. I'd got in trouble with the law. Like, I wasn't just like a casual alcoholic, you know? And so I feel like I found myself at this place where I genuinely wanted to die. Like, I really went there. Like, I wanted to end my life. Because I couldn't get out of it. I could not, during those 7 years, I went to therapy. I took medication. I did all of the things the right things that you're supposed to do when
Yeah.
something bad happens. And I couldn't shake it. And so I decided at my lowest, I'm like, okay, before I end my life, truly, let's go all in on being cringy as fuck. Like, let's just be truly, because that's the thing no one talks about. When you're at rock bottom and when you have nothing left to
Nothing to
lose,
lose. Yeah.
I mean, you honestly have access to a level of insane courage that I don't think enough people talk about. So I decided to start a personal development podcast when I was the fattest, the brokest, and the drunkest I'd ever been in my entire life. And it's honestly comical to think about, but let me tell you, it was the best decision I ever made because today I am sober, I'm down 40 pounds, I'm debt free, and I absolutely love getting ready and getting dressed again. So let's circle back to dopamine dressing because how this
Yeah.
all came to be, I will never forget. So my first my first video podcast I ever recorded, and people can go back and look at this, by the way, but I looked at myself on the monitor, horrified. I didn't even recognize myself. I mean,
But
and
that's exactly, I mean, sorry to interrupt, but like that's
no,
exactly
please.
what these men do is they rip you of anything. It goes way deeper than, oh, he did this to me. It's also ripping completely your identity from yourself to the point where you really lose
Completely.
yourself. And to
Completely.
be able to get back to that is round of applause, first
Thank
of all.
you. Thank you.
That's not an easy trait. And that's why we lose so many women to this shit. Like,
Correct.
I know this is meant to be all positive, but like, fuck these guys, Like,
Yes,
I have
yes.
had my own experiences and like, fuck these guys. And I just want to make it super clear that it is not easy to get back there. So that alone, to even touch what you used to be and find that back in
Thank
yourself,
you.
that find that joy is incredible. But yeah, continue.
Yes,
Sorry.
it was truly the hardest journey I've ever been through because like you said, I think there was a moment in my life where I never thought I'd get my spark back. I'd never get my joy back. But this is why visibility is so healing and it's something that not enough people are talking about because when I saw myself on that monitor and when I saw, I was wearing my uniform, right? The gray sweatshirt. My hair hadn't been brushed in days. I had no makeup on. I was wearing my glasses. And even still, I recorded it, I uploaded it, I posted it. And that was the healing part, was making myself be seen where I was. And also having the courage to be seen and to be visible after hiding for so long. And so what happened was very slowly over time, I started to it first started with earrings because I was so scared of my body. Because this is what happens. So when women go through situations in their lives of sexual trauma, it's very subconscious, but you become scared to be seen. And so for me, I had learned that, okay, well, I can't show too much cleavage. I can't show too much of my body because that's unsafe. So it started with my earrings, then it went to jewelry, then makeup, then my hair. And now I have a whole system for getting ready and getting dressed, which is called the Dopamine Four. And so what I learned,
Tell us this
yes,
system.
yes,
That's awesome. Okay.
It's called the Dopamine Four. I actually just taught it at a workshop earlier this week, but it's called the Dopamine Four. And it's where every one of your outfits has color, pattern, texture, and sparkle. And what I learned through this process of reclaiming my fashion and reclaiming my style is the days I wore color, pattern, texture, and sparkle, not only did I feel the most confident, but I was the most visible. And this is what so many women actually need. We need to be visible. We need to be seen. And even if you don't want to be a podcast host, even if you don't want to be a speaker, every woman listening to this wants to be seen, known, and heard in her job, at home, with her family. And so we do this by getting ready and getting dressed. I actually created an app called the Dopamine Four app, where you take a picture of the items in your closet, it categorizes it by color, pattern, texture, and sparkle, and then it utilizes my style formulas to help you create
That's so
looks.
much fun.
Yes, to help you create looks that are in alignment with the Dopamine Four. And
Yeah.
just to tie a bow on the Dopamine Four, I know I've talked a lot in this podcast so far, but just to tie a
I
bow on
love
what the
that. That's what
Dopamine
you're here
Four
for.
is. Yes. So it's this idea that personal style is personal development. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I know so many, especially if you're listening to this podcast, I already know you want to be the hottest, baddest, wisest version of yourself. And I also know you're ambitious, you're busy. And the idea of, like, adopting a breathwork practice or going to yoga every day, like, that might not be tangible for you right now. But you have to get ready. You have to get dressed every day. Like, you do. And so when you have a system like color, pattern, texture, and sparkle, when you're intentional with your clothes, when you truly dress like the woman you're becoming, it gets to become fun, and it really becomes a little manifestation tool.
Manifestation tool. That's such a good way of putting it. I think, okay, first of all, what I'm hearing is throw yourself in the deep end. Sometimes it's good for you and rip off the Band-Aid and get that
Alwa-
shit done.
Always. Yes.
And I think that's super important. I think a lot of us wait for the invitation and wait for when we're ready, but doing it before that is such an important step, and it gets you a lot further, a lot quicker. So sometimes it's, just bite the bullet and get it done, which is amazing.
Yes.
But also, like, goodbye to black t-shirts. That's what I'm hearing also. But no, I think it's like putting yourself in that position really just does change your mental game, because that future self, it's there and it's ready for you to grab onto. You just need to awaken that in you, and sometimes you need to coax it and force it out. And I will say something that has gotten me to a place where, I mean, my weight has fluctuated for years. Like, I've
Yes.
gone from size 10 most of my life to a size 8 and 6 when I was living a horrible life, and then back to 10. Then I took some pills to help me with one thing that made me gain even more weight, and I went up to a 16. And it's just a nightmare, right? We deal
Yes.
with this all the freaking time is the point. But I lost that part of me that was like, like, that's that cute girl, pretty girl, feminine girl, that girl, right?
Yes. Yes.
It was very, what's comfortable, all of that. Unless I was going on holiday. That's what I found as well. When I went on holiday, I made an effort, but in daily life, I was like, my robe is good enough, and this is, tracksuit pants and a robe. But when I started really wanting to be that girl and leading myself towards that, I actually introduced AI into my life.
Yeah.
And started to put myself in different outfits to see how that would look. And seeing myself physically, and I would have loved for it to be like me actually in real life, but like I have nowhere to wear half of the stuff. But I just visualizing and being able to visually see yourself as that girl in the outfits that you want and all that just absolutely opened and changed the way I see myself in total. Like, there probably hasn't been another thing that has given me, I wouldn't even say confidence, because I've always had confidence to speak,
Yes.
but it gave me something internally that
Mhm.
just brought joy that then seeped into every other area of my life,
Yes. It almost sounds like embodiment, and I totally know. I think this really ties back to there's two things I want to touch on. Make sure so the first thing I want to say is you mentioned about the black t-shirt. And this is something I talked about this at my event this weekend, but this idea that what I love about the Dopamine Four is there was a girl at the event who she loves to dress. She's more of a goth girl.
Mhm.
And so she likes to wear black. And then there was another girl who's more of a corporate girl. But what I love about the Dopamine Four is any outfit can become a Dopamine Four outfit. It's just color,
Mm.
pattern, texture, and sparkle. And it's just about being visible and seen. And something I love to have women think about is think about out in nature. When you see a piece of dirt, are you thinking to yourself, that is so beautiful and profound? No, you're not. But when you see the glistening of the water, when you see a beautiful flower, when you see like a gorgeous sunset, that is when you feel awe and wonder. So why are we as women being sold this lie that when we blend in, when we're wearing only neutrals, when we're only wearing these, boxy silhouettes, that's somehow confidence giving? It's like, no, let's go back to what we're seeing in nature. We are seeing in nature that things that have color, pattern, texture, and sparkle are beautiful to us, make us feel a certain type of way. And we
Because
still yeah.
we're
Mhm.
expected to be successful in the masculine way, right? To be
Yes.
that CEO that wears the gray suit and the blue shirt. Like that's
Yep.
that's what we've been conditioned to believe, that, it's not women's equality, it's women's trying to model after what they've seen men's success look like.
Yep.
And it's heartbreaking. And I guess also having that experience where visibility equals unsafe, it's hard to come out of. It's hard to move yourself through that. But
Yes.
also, I I think there's a lot to be said about, like, I had a thought recently, and I think you definitely have thoughts on this, is wearing lingerie but for yourself, not for a man.
Yes.
Yeah. How do we feel about
Wholeheartedly.
that?
Well, of course. I mean, I think a huge part of it is getting dressed for yourself. And that's what personal style is, right? It's getting dressed for yourself. And I know I keep talking about the workshop I did this weekend, but it really was profound. And something we did was we set goals for the next 6 months because if you can believe it or not, we're already halfway through the year. And this idea of let's start with a goal in mind. Let's start with the woman we want to become. And now let's look at our clothes. Let's look at our outfits. Are they in alignment with that woman? And I think so many of us, we want an amazing relationship. We want great sex. We want those things, but we're waiting, which goes back to a huge part of my message, which is you don't wait, you become, right? Like waiting
Yeah.
and wishing doesn't get you the life you want. It's beating your chest, flexing your muscles and going after what you want. And so part of that for women who do want a central relationship, it's like wear it because it makes you feel good. Embody that energy, embody that woman. Which takes me back to the second thing I wanted to touch on, which was when you were talking about your weight. And it it goes back to something I always say, which is stop waiting on your weight. And this is something, and especially given, again, I know you, Jasmine, are on social media. I'm on social media. And I know a lot of women listening to this right now, they are heavy on social media. And what our algorithms push to us is LA 10s over and over and over again. And don't get me wrong, I love an LA 10. I love them. I do. They're beautiful, objectively. But the
Absolutely.
majority of women, we don't have access to those funds or even necessarily those desires to go through all those lengths to be that. We are not AI. We are human beings. And something that I challenge all of my women to do is to go online and look for evidence of women who have bodies like you, who look like you. That is something I started doing when I was at my heaviest. What is so incredible is there's so many influencers out there right now who have their dimensions in their profile. So they have their height, their
Mm.
weight, and their dress size.
Okay.
And so you just type it in Instagram. That did so much for my confidence because it showed me examples of, okay, that's how I can dress. Because and that's something too. It is so
That's
incredible when you
actually
see.
mind-blowing. I had no idea about this.
Yes, and it was mind
Where
blowing
has this been all my life?
because when I saw women, because I think it was amazing to see an example of a woman in real life who was my who looked like me, who looked stunning and beautiful. And here's what I want so many women to realize. We are taught by society to hate ourselves. We are. And I want you to realize what an amazing business model that is. If you believe that you're too fat, if you believe that you need a new nose, if you believe that you need this, that, and the other, you will continuously be a consumer. You will continuously need their products. It's an incredible business model. But we have to be smarter than this. We have to realize that we are beautiful. The same way that you see a beautiful, I love to go back to nature, but the same way that you see a beautiful cat or a beautiful flower or a beautiful sunset, it's like those things didn't think to themselves, oh, I'd be more beautiful if I had one more petal, or I'd be more beautiful
Yeah.
if my fur was a little fluffier. It's like, it's precious because it is, and we are precious because we are. But we have to start to get out of the system that convinces us to hate ourselves. And the last thing I'm going to say is I know we live in a reality where comparison is everywhere. And especially, with social media or even if you're out in public. I know that was something I often I still fall prey to this. Right? You see a beautiful girl and you're like, "Wow, I wished I looked like that or I don't look like that."
Yeah.
But something I had a therapist challenge me to do, which was so helpful, is she said, if you're going to compare yourself to the hottest girl at the grocery store, also compare yourself to the man that you're walking down the aisle with. Compare yourself to the other woman who's getting the apple. Like, compare yourself to everyone then. And if
Yeah.
you do that, you'll start to realize beauty comes in all shapes and sizes. And it really is the internal work, it's the internal glow up that creates the external glow up.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. However, I will say easier said than done, right? Like all these things are
Wholeheartedly.
such,
Wholeheartedly.
yeah,
That's why you gotta
it's like
beat your
such a
chest.
journey. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
and
you
I
gotta you
think
gotta have
like
grit. You gotta fight for it. It's hard,
grit,
but
I love
you
grit.
have to have grit. I just posted a reel today where I talked about how I think healing is overrated. I think it's important. I think the soft skills are important, right? Like learning why things are a certain way, doing the inner work, it's important, but I think what we don't talk about enough, it's like you got to fight for it sometimes.
Yeah,
And
because healing's a journey
yes,
forever. Like healing, there's no day. I
correct.
always say, like, no one's gonna hand you a certificate of you've healed. That's it. Tick off the list. It's just it's never gonna
Yes.
happen. So if we're like, doesn't mean stop healing. I mean, like, just so long as you accept it. But yeah, just get it done anyway. Like,
Yes.
get it sorted regardless, and seeing that replicated in front of you, and also surrounding yourself with people who are willing to put in that effort and meeting people, and I think it goes a long way because your mentality starts to shift. If you're still around like your high school friends that just negative Nellies and Nancy's that are just always complaining, eat the rich, blah blah blah, all
Right,
that, like,
right.
oh, they don't have, so I'm gonna hate on. Well, you're gonna be stuck there, or you're gonna be battling the whole time, butting heads the whole entire time. So,
Yep.
who you surround yourself with is super important, and being able to find someone like you and go, okay, well, who's showing up for her? Who's sitting in her classrooms? I think that's like it changes you, but also makes you feel like the change you're making, you're not alone in. And other people want that for themselves too. And it's okay for you to want that in yourself. So
Yes.
how have you like found it? I mean, how do you even get your gigs, let's say, right? You're a public speaker. You're out there. I've seen your videos and they're so good. And you're one of
Thank
those
you.
people that like, you walk the streets, like I saw the one with the sign and you're like asking people
Yes.
questions. And I'm like, oh, I love that so much. Like I have zero freaking energy for it myself. And I'm like, yes, I wish I could do that. But like, how are you showing up like that? Like how does it work for you?
So I want to answer this in two different parts, and I want to headline this so you can help me stay on track. The first thing I want to headline is the skills that I had to develop to do that. And then also, then I want to headline how I'm actually making this stuff happen. So the first thing is I want, anyone who watches my content and sees me speaking publicly or sees me out in public, going up to random people, doing man on the street content. I want everyone to realize that I am not the, so the most common piece of commentary I get is, Mary, you are such a natural. You are such a natural. You're such a natural. You have this natural gift. And I don't want to discredit it because sure, maybe I have a propensity towards charisma and stage presence. But also, the reason I have the confidence to go up to strangers on the street, the reason I'm really good at asking follow-up questions, the reason I'm able to speak in front of a lot of people and stay on track, it is because I showed up on social media when I was at my absolute lowest. Like, I was not on social media for 7 years of my life. I was a hermit. And so when I first started my podcast and when I first started doing interviews, my interviews sucked. I was not good at questions. I was not good at learning these things. Part of it came from facing my cringe, listening to my stuff back, and being my own coach. I always tell people you have to be your own stage mom. And part of
Yeah.
that means it's like first of all, you have to believe in yourself enough for 1,000 people, even if you suck. And then you have to watch back footage, go through and iterate over time. Last year I started doing stand-up comedy, and
Oh,
that was yes. And so
so
that
much
was
fun.
so helpful for stage presence because holy freaking crap. I mean, stand-up comedy is a different level of confidence and a different level of energy that you have to bring. And
Tough
so
gig. Absolutely tough
tough
gig.
gig. I bombed so hard. There was one time I bombed horribly, and that changed my life. That was the most important speaking engagement I've ever had was the night I bombed on stage because it taught me the most. So all
Yeah.
of this to say where I'm at today is yes, I'm speaking on stages, I'm doing man on the street content, and it's because of the last 3 years of my life of relentlessly showing up and practicing the skill of being visible, of being seen, of being heard, and of being known over and over and over again. And so I started doing I've always dreamed of being a speaker, and I found myself at this place where speaking gigs were finding me, but not enough were finding me, right? So what
Yeah.
I started doing was I started videotaping all of my speaking gigs. Every single one I did, every open mic night, I videotaped it and I started making clips for social media. And I just started saying, this is what I'm talking about. If you want me to come talk to your team, let me know. And a lot of schools started reaching out to me.
Mm.
So I've been speaking to a lot of different schools. I also host my own events, and this is something that a lot of people are going to have to do in the beginning. You might have to sponsor your own stage. You might have to, pay money and to get people to come so you can get the clips, get the reps, and influence the people that you want to. And with the man on the street content, I live in a very small town in the Midwest. And let me just be clear, I'm not in New York City. I'm not in a big, because in New York City, everyone's doing man on the street content. So, so for me to do this, I mean, it's out there, right? But my Aunt Lynn always taught me, she always said, Mary Lacey, grow where you are planted, grow where you are planted. And I don't live in New York City. And even if I did, there's thousands of me in New York City.
Yeah.
There's in a smaller town, I mean, I have a smaller market. And I'm actually so proud that I get to say this, but 2 weeks ago is when I started my Man on the Street show. It's called What's Your Brag? And going back to what I said earlier, I truly believe that it is so important that we as a society start to brag and appreciate who we are so that we can get out of the consumerism hamster wheel, so that we can get into our confidence, and so we can start embodying the people that our planet needs. Because our planet needs strong, embodied, confident people right now more than ever. I
Oh,
actually
yeah.
had a local sports team reach out to me. So it's owned by the NFL. There's a team in Chicago called the Blackhawks, and there's a minor league team in Rockford called the Ice Hogs. The Blackhawks are a super well-known team in the state. And they messaged me because they want me to be their MC for their sporting for their team next year. Crazy. And let me tell you, that was insane. No, literally
Wow.
insane. And I will
Yeah.
say they want me to do about 5 to 10 games, and they want to test run me. But I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill it. They're like, before we commit, we're going to
Obviously.
give you they're like, before we commit, we want to and I'm like, okay, great. So they're going to give me a few to start, and then we're going to see what comes next. But all of this to say, it goes back to what I always say, which is visibility creates possibility. And, I could have never foreseen that coming. And when I go back to where I was in high school, I wanted to go to I wanted when I tell you that is my something like that is my dream. So much so that when
Yeah.
I was in high school, I wanted to go to college so I could be on the news. And because I've always wanted to be a personality. So I
Yeah.
wanted to do that. But my parents were like, you're not going to make money doing that. Don't go to school for that. And the fact that in 2026, all you have to do is make yourself visible and show the
Yeah.
skills, and things will come.
It's a different time. Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Like, we really are.
I love it.
We've come a long way.
Yes,
And
it's
I
so
like,
fun.
congratulations, firstly. Like,
Thank you.
that's wow. And I'm going to say
Thank
this,
you.
right? So,
Yes.
when I noticed your socials and your content came up, I was like, how does she not have so much more followers? Like, your personality and what you're doing
That's so sweet.
comes across as someone who's, at least in like the tens of thousands, let alone the
Thank you.
hundreds of thousands. You know what I mean? No, but
Thank you.
it's
That's
not
so
even
sweet.
like, I don't even know if that's a compliment, because it's almost disappointing that you're not already there. But it just goes to show, like, you're there first of all before you get the numbers that show that.
Yes.
Secondly, you're also converting, right? So in my line of business, we talk a lot about what converts versus just the numbers, just the stats, and I think
Yeah.
that's super important, because, like, yeah, the right people are reaching out to you, the right people are seeing you, the right, and I kind of, I guess, say this in a sense of, but a lot of people kind of go, but I don't really have the numbers to show up like that. Who's going to care? And they're waiting for their followers to grow. Mind you, social media has changed so much. Barely anyone follows anyone anymore. The algorithm's just showing the right people anyway. So, that metric is almost like redundant. And I think you're really a perfect example of someone who's, it's like, no, I'm not here to just have hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm here to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, that's, hello.
Thank you.
What business are we in? And it's incredible.
Yes. Well, thank you. I'd be so curious. I love feedback, and I know that you're like an expert, so I'm so curious if you have any feedback for me. Like, if you were me, what would you be doing to grow your platform more? So I don't know if you have any feedback for us, because again, I'm sure a lot of your listeners following are like, what advice would you have for me? Because so all the listeners know, right now I have about 2,500 across platforms. I post so much. I do post a lot. I do show up a lot. It's truly one of those things where I love it so much, and so I do it because I love it. And of course, I want, and I also have an impact I want, right? Like, I have a deeper message. I have a deeper meaning. I was speaking at a school last week, and all the kids wanted to know which brands I work with. They wanted to know that. And I had to tell them, I'm like,
Of
I'm
course.
totally open to working with brands, but I'm so much more interested in inspiring you and other people to
Yeah.
be seen, heard, and known. But I
Yeah.
always say that I'm not an expert at blowing up on social media, but I am an expert at glowing up on social media.
Yeah.
And so that for
Absolutely.
me has been the greatest gift, has been the personal development side of social media.
Well, okay. Here's my first question, right? Like, if
Yeah.
someone was to come to me in your situation, or if you were literally genuine, like, what can I do different? The first thing I'd ask is, are you getting the results you want? Which it
That's such a
seems like
great
you are.
question. So I mean, with me getting to I guess, of course, I would love to have my and this is me being so honest, but in the world that we live in, followers equate to credibility, which equates to more opportunity, right? And so, of course, I would like my followers to reflect that. And right
Yeah.
now it's not.
Okay.
But I will say, I mean, I get to MC for this like sports team in town, which is super fun, which is a huge dream of mine. I'm doing man on the street content, which I've always desired to do. Um, People are coming to my events. So I'm definitely not like floundering, but I'm also in an era of, okay, I'm trying really hard. Like I put a lot of work in, and there's a part of me that, of course, I want to see results from the work.
Yeah. And I think, okay. So first off, I think where you are versus where you want to be will always be out of reach because that's your mentality. That's who you are as a person, and it shows. No, really
I
though,
love you. I
there's
love you.
not
Yes.
really. It's not going to be a point where it's like, oh, I've done it all. I can go and
So
rest on
true.
my laurels, and that's incredible. But witnessing that in yourself and being able to like take a step back and go, okay, I'm always going to be in reach of something because that's just my personality. That's okay too.
That's so
So
good.
I think like the way I tackle things, I always say like my kind of tagline is I see you, my job is to see you better than you see yourself, right?
Oh,
So, getting really clear on that, that's the first thing I do, and understanding where you want to be. But it sounds like, okay, number one, I've talked very publicly on this and to the point where I was very much shadow banned for the longest time. And the fact is that any big creator that you see has purchased engagement and followers, and that's full stop. There is
okay.
no question about it. So if you just want to see your numbers higher, buy them. That's
Okay.
simple. That's not
Yeah.
advice of like professional to professional. No, I'm talking if the numbers are all we care about, that's how they're getting there. Like I'm talking,
Okay.
okay, Cristiano Ronaldo, Mark Zuckerberg himself. That's the way I put it. If Mark Zuckerberg himself has purchased followers and it's very clear and he buys his engagement, then what hope do we have, right? He owns the whole
Yep.
platform for God's sake. Anyway,
Mm.
so keep that in mind, right? Be really honest with yourself about that because that's just the way it happens. And I've purchased followers and engagement too. This is what gets done in the industry. And I'm not embarrassed to say it because this is
I'm
how it
so happy
works,
that you're being this
you know?
honest. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's
I'm
so
so
important
happy
because
because,
I've
like you said,
had
no one's doing this.
yeah, and I've had so many conversations where people are like, oh, but I just want to grow and it's just not working. And they're putting in every possible. I have not seen someone show up like you've shown up, right? Like for me, I've gone more into personal branding and founder led branding, like shifted kind of my business for that to be a sole focus in one area. And you're an epitome of someone who is showing the fuck up in all the ways. You're
You.
doing
Thank
all the
you.
touch points. And and
Thank
and I
you.
really don't say that to like, like I genuinely mean that. Like you're a great example. So for whoever's listening, if they need to see example of someone who is doing way more than like you're receiving a lot more, a lot less than what you're putting out. That's full stop, right? So now looking at what you're doing, great. Buy followers if that's what you really want. But if your conversion and people are reaching out to you and you're getting people to notice you, that's more important than any number we can put on a chart somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing, the only thing I would say is probably, I don't know how well your link tree converts, but right now, like what I'm seeing more and more of is like there is an influx of so many businesses and trust is super important. So having like one website that just has everything on it and just like having it just that's your professional landing and that's where everything funnels out of is super important as well. And that's kind of the difference of I'm not saying that you can't make it one way or another. I'm saying if you're trying to max out what you could charge someone versus someone else, that's the difference, right? You build authority
Okay.
with a good website. That's what it is because it's like, oh, that looks like an established business rather than an
Right.
influencer that's trying to do her thing, right? And
Yes.
that's where we're at. So I think that's
Okay.
probably
That's great.
possibly next step. But yeah, that would be it. But because you're doing all the things, so don't
Thanks.
change that.
Yes. And something, well, thank you for all of that feedback and also for your level of honesty because again, I speak on behalf whenever I get on a podcast, I always want to be a guest, but I also always want to be an audience advocate. So I always want to speak for them too. And I'm sure that there are business owners who are listening to this who have been gaslit by people over and over and over again, which is you just need a signature series, you just need to try harder, you just need to do this. But the reality is, even the best of the best of the best of the best, and the owner of Meta himself,
Yeah,
5
literally.
followers.
Like who
You
else?
know?
Like Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama. Like you're kidding. If
Yes.
you think for a second you can reach those numbers without purchasing, like that's just full stop. Maybe in the early
Yeah.
days of like when we were
Correct.
YouTube stars and Instagram stars, and it's crazy. But now with the saturation, it's not possible. And yeah, I
Yes.
think it's super important to talk about that because, like you said, like businesses are sitting there chasing their tails, thinking they're not doing good enough. They're not showing it. I've even heard of like marketing people, like people who do art in marketing that have like onboarded someone and said, yep, we'll look after everything. Of course it gets spiked because they're now using that fund to pay for engagement. Like it is like if you're not aware to this stuff that happens, like it's really hard. Like my heart was broken when I found out
Yeah.
because I was like, oh my God, I've tried so hard. Like,
Right, right.
what do
Yeah.
you mean?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
gut wrenching and it's a punch in the face and yeah, I just couldn't compute it. So talking about it openly is, yeah, super important. Very, very
I
important.
I think something that I also have found to be so interesting, and I was just telling my friends about this, but, I post on social media at least once a day. I try to do it 3 times a day. And as much effort as I put into showing up, to creating value, all the things, right? It's so interesting because the people who show up to my events are almost always the people I meet in real life. Almost always. Like real life still converts so much better. And that's where that has been a real, just something that I've really been leaning into lately, which is why I started doing my man on the street content. And what's so cool is I did this man, and I did, when you do the man on the street content locally, and when you host in person events, local people are going to want to come. And I had several women follow me, seeing me out in public with my little sign, and like those are the women who want to come to my events. And
Yeah.
so that's something else is I do think showing like and that's something Gary Vaynerchuk talks about that a lot. I'm sure you know Gary V.
Gary V. Yeah, yeah.
Gary
Yeah.
V. Yeah, yeah. So Gary V talks about that a lot where his prediction is we're kind of in the decline of social media. It's still going to exist, but it's changing. And we're not at the height, we're at the where and something else will come along. We don't know what that thing is. But right now, and so his big prediction is that in person is going to take over because as we're already seeing, AI is
Yeah.
changing social media so much. And now, you can't trust everything you see truly. The new question is this even freaking real? Right? You see, I feel like I've seen so many things and it's like, this isn't real. Like, it's not real. Like, your intuition tells you it's not real. And then you look in the comments and it's like, the post has millions of views because it's made by an algorithm that's literally designed to create a viral video. Just all these things. So it definitely is shifting things and changing things. And Gary's big prediction is that long form and long form content and in person is going to kind of be where we go next.
I
Yeah.
absolutely agree. And he's one of the few, I mean, there's like Hermosi and all these people that honestly I can't handle. They give me the ick. But Gary
Okay.
V's shit has been one of the few that I'm like,
I love
oh
Gary.
my God, I love you so much. You're just not bullshitting me. Like I feel like some people really buy into the hype of others, and it's like, no, but can you not feel it? Like, do you not have a sense of like, no, this isn't where we're going? And I think he does it so well. And but going back to your point is what I find funny is throughout everything that's come and gone, socials, paid ads, all these things, all around us on the interwebs. One of the core things that still time and time again, that still delivers more than anything is word of mouth.
Yes.
Like more than anything. And people that have someone like me, that I live abroad. I live in Spain. I'm not in my home country. I'm so detached from my local community because I live in like a small village of 6,000 people. It's not even, I don't speak the language. I can't jump
Wow.
out there, right? Like it's not the same situation. But I
Wow.
mean, I could do that in the city that's nearby, which is an hour and a bit of, away. But my point is that when everything is so online, if you're not taking a step back and giving people an experience when they do work with you that outshines their other experiences,
Yes.
you're missing out on so much. There was a video I recently watched where a guy mentioned he was like this rich dude, like, living his best life, amazing, great. But he was talking about how he once went to a hotel, I don't know where it was, walks in, exhausted, blah, 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 went to the sauna. He went to the sauna and he just like wanted to, enjoy himself. He goes in, and soon after someone else walks in and they stand there and start like singing in a melodic, like ancient way. And he's like, that experience, he's never stopped talking about it. And he really drills in the point that you don't have to be the best in the business, but you
Right.
have to deliver an experience that's memorable enough that makes someone talk about you. And
Yes.
I think that's so undervalued. And people love to imagine, especially I guess like younger generations love to imagine a world where everything is just online. And it will be like that to a certain extent, but they also have to know the old school business mentality. And I think it's the balance of both. I think it's
Yeah.
finding, coming back to that.
And if you go, I mean, what Gary V is predicting is he's predicting that there's going to be a huge rise of analog. And so it's actually gonna, we're actually because a lot of us are fried with the whole digital thing. It's so online. It's a lot. And so a lot of us, so that's his prediction. Obviously, we can't know for sure what's going to happen. But I do feel that the richness of the in person is going to come. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about the work I do,
Mm.
because anyone can talk from a script, anyone can show up on camera, and, anyone can
Perfectly
do
edit themselves.
yes, anyone can do that. Anyone can do that. But I think the meaningful impact is, yes, social media is a great way to convey your message, but when we really think about impact, influence, and even just fulfillment, that comes from human to human contact. That comes from your passion, your purpose, your charisma, and that comes from having a level of confidence that can't be bought, it's earned.
Hmm.
And right now we have this little phone in our pocket, this little rectangle in our pocket, and it's free, which is a freaking miracle. And from my experience, before I started posting on social media, again, addicted to alcohol, 40 pounds heavier than I am right now, $40,000 in debt, so chronically depressed I thought I wanted to die. I had tried everything in the world to heal this, and wholeheartedly, social media healed me. Like, wholeheartedly, it did. And I know a lot of people poo poo on social media, and don't get me wrong, the downsides are real. They are.
Mm.
Like, the downsides are
Mhm.
real. But if you use it as a tool to iterate yourself, to learn so that you can, I always say, I help women show up online and glow up in real life. Because if you show up, if you practice, and if you use this as like a dress rehearsal for the bigger shit, for the bigger stages, for the bigger impact, like that's what matters. And I know that there's so many business owners who might even be listening to this right now who they have a kick ass product. They have a kick ass brand. They have kick ass ideas, but their inability to get over themselves, to get over what they see, to get over what they hear, to get over all of it is keeping themselves stuck. And I'm here to say, beat your chest, flex your muscles, have the courage to be cringe because magic and miracles will come just from that.
Yeah. So well said. And it reminded me early on when you were saying, when you've got nothing to lose, right? And ideally, we
Yes.
don't want you to get to a place where you don't have anything to lose. Like, ideally, you start today, regardless of what position you're
Correct.
in,
Correct.
but there is some magic to that when it's like that's it. You've got two choices: end it all or pick your shit up and do something,
Yes.
and it's easier said than done. But here's what I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
Today, someone out there is listening, like, really, they just, they didn't even expect to be talking about this, right? And they're like, actually, you know what? Yeah, I want to do this. What's their first step? Like, do you go out and go shopping? Do you online browse for hours and doom scroll clothing? How do we actually do the dopamine dressing? Step one. What are we doing?
Yes. I would say the first step to dopamine dressing is just start practicing the Dopamine Four. When you get dressed in the morning, think to yourself, is there color? Is there pattern? Is there texture? Is there sparkle? And if there's not, what can you add? Can you add a fun patterned purse? Can you add a fun earring? Can you add a bracelet that's a certain color? Just little things. And the whole premise is to be memorable and to be seen and to be known. Because, and this is something we've talked about extensively, but we live in a world where attention is fragmented and we have to stand out. We have to be embodied. We can't blend in anymore. And
Yeah.
so when you use this formula, it's going to make sure that you don't, and that not only are you memorable, but you also feel more confident. So that would be the
Yeah.
first place to start.
Yeah. I think that's also very important to remember that, okay, well, for some women, it's not even being visible for your business. Like, maybe you don't have a business, maybe you're just working 9 to 5 and that's how you're happy with that and you don't want to do anything else. But just
Yes.
the confidence, that thing that sparks that joy inside of you, that's so important and it's irreplaceable. And once you have it, you're like invincible. And
Yes.
yeah.
I think a lot of women, it's really interesting. I think a lot of them are subliminally, like, it's not conscious, but they're fearful of being seen. They want to blend in. It feels comfortable. And I want everyone listening to this to realize that deep down at your core, this is a psychological thing that we are all programmed with, but you actually deeply desire to be seen, heard, and known. And the more that you take little actions every day to do that, confidence will become more natural. It's not going to become this mind game that you have to like constantly work through. It's just going to happen. And it happens by
Yeah.
you showing yourself and showing up for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, very well said. And again, I appreciate you being here so much. I was not sure what it was that, we were going to talk about. And when I saw and heard you talk about the dopamine dressing, I was like, no, that has to be a conversation topic, because it did something in me, and I was like, oh, I want to be like that more, and
Good.
it's just inspiring, and I yeah, I hope that you find all the success like it clearly is that you are, and I don't think you'll have a problem at all, because the hardest thing for us to beat is our inner critic, is our inner voice, is that's our worst nightmare. And it seems like you're well out of that black hole. And that's, you're not going to have a problem. It's going to be
Thank
incredible.
you.
What a journey. And I'm so glad I get to witness this. And I hope that everyone listening gets a chance to witness it with you.
Well, your kind words literally mean the world to me. You have said some of the sweetest stuff to me today, so thank you so much. And it has been such a blessing to be on your show and on your podcast, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak more about the Dopamine Four, to talk a little bit more about why it matters, the origin story, and you asked me some really great questions that even gave me clarity. So,
Ah, amazing.
thank you.
We all get
Yes,
something here.
we do. We
Okay.
do.
I feel like we've talked it all out. It's been
Yes.
incredible, and for whoever's listening, please go ahead and follow. And also, I wanted to say, actually, your name, is that a stage name, or is that really your name? Because it's so
So
perfect.
Well, you are so sweet. Thank you. So it is my full name. My name is Mary Lacey Banks. And
It's so perfect.
thank you. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Mary Lacey Banks. And so so it's Mary Lacey's with an E, it's Lacey, and then Banks like money, honey. And so that's my
I
so
love
that's my
it.
name. Yes, my
Yeah, no,
dad
it's
my dad
incredible.
named me. So yeah,
Oh,
he did good
good
with
on
that.
him. Good. Yeah, he nailed it. Absolutely. He was like,
Thank
oh, I
you.
already know she's going to be famous. It's fine. You know?
Thank you.
You're
Thank
so
you.
welcome. No, again, thank you so much. And of course, guys, you can hear everything and read everything and get in touch with her all in the description. So, yeah, that is all we have for you. And thank you and goodbye.
Bye, squad.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being here. This was Without a Brief, a Red Bow House podcast. To explore the agency, apply to be a guest, or listen to more episodes, visit redbowhouse.com.